Hi, my name is Tammy Pham, and welcome to the Soul of Vietnam. Growing up, I didn't know very much about our past history. My parents didn't share a lot of the stories. Either they didn't remember, they were too scared, they didn't think it was relevant. So growing up, I was always very curious and very confused. Always trying to learn more about our history, learn more about facts, and unfortunately, there's not a lot of stuff out there. Fortunately, this film, The Soul of Vietnam, shows us a brief history about our flag. It shows us about national anthem, how it transformed, and how symbolic about the spirit about the Vietnamese people. It's a great film showing various stories about people empowering various cities all around the world, today and in the past. I hope that you watch this film and enjoy. It's not only a great opportunity to learn more about ourselves and our nation, but it also empowers you to learn more about the Vietnamese culture so you can make right decisions about current issues today and in the future. I think it's very relevant not only for our nation, but also all issues in Middle East, Africa, and beyond. Because those that don't know the past are bound to repeat it. So I hope you enjoyed the film.
A nation is comprised of a national territory, a people, a common culture, a governmental authority, and its artistic and architectural monuments. A nation's flag is the product of a certain episode of history. It is the physical symbol of that nation and the spiritual symbol of that nation's history. The national anthem, which goes with the flag of that nation, represents the commitments made by that nation's citizens toward the fatherland.
In April 1975, South Vietnam fell under the attacks of the North Vietnamese Communist Army. Following that event, Some 2 million Vietnamese have left Vietnam in the next 10 years in one of the greatest exoduses of mankind. Yet it is paradoxical that the flag of South Vietnam, with its yellow background and 3 red stripes, is now being flown all over the world. This documentary explains why this flag came about following the Second World War and Vietnamese independence. This is a legacy that we would like to leave to Vietnamese born and raised outside of Vietnam. It is recognized as the heritage flag not only by the Vietnamese but also by many countries. It is called the Vietnamese heritage flag.
Starting in the mid-19th century, Vietnam came under the occupation of the French, who divided the country into 3 territorial units. Cochin China in the south was made a colony, while Annam and Tonkin in central and north Vietnam, respectively, were French protectorates still nominally under Vietnamese Emperor Bao Dai. When the anti-French revolts broke out, the French adopted a dual-track policy, soothing the Vietnamese court but repressing the anti-French revolutionaries. Taking advantage of this policy, Emperor Bao Dai instituted a few reforms, including the proclamation of a flag called Lang Tin, or dragon flag. This flag was used in what was then Dai Nam, composed of Tonkin and Annam. Cochin China, being a colony, had to fly the French flag. It had a yellow background with a red stripe in the middle across the entire length of the flag. The colors of traditional Vietnamese flags were usually based on the yin-yang theory and the 5 basic elements that flow in the universe. The color red represented prosperity, and gold the color of royalty. This imperial flag was used only once on the occasion of the presentation of the new government under Mr. Trang Trong Kim in 1945. During World War II, as France was occupied by the Nazis, the French hold on Vietnam was not as secure as it had been before the war. Under those circumstances, the colonial French administration had to accept the Japanese condition of letting Japan use Vietnam as the jumping point toward further occupation in the South Seas. On March 9, 1945, the Japanese conducted a surprise coup overthrowing the French. Taking advantage of this turn of events, Emperor Bao Dai declared Vietnam's independence on March 11, 1945, and the Trang Trong Kim cabinet presented itself 1 month later, on April 17, 1945. The Trang Trong Kim cabinet subsequently chose the Lee trigram flag to represent Vietnam. It consisted of a yellow background with 3 red stripes running across it. However, of the 3 stripes, only the outer ones are continuous stripes, the center one being broken in the middle. This flag was not used in Cochin China, as the Japanese did not turn over this part of the country to the court of Hue. Japan surrendered on August 16, 1945. 3 days later, the Viet Minh stole power, forcing Emperor Bao Dai to abdicate on August 25th. Thus, the Lee trigram flag was barely known even to the people in Annam and Tonkin. With the end of the Pacific War, the French came back to reconquer Cochin China. They created a Cochin Chinese Republic on March 26, 1946. The official flag of this republic was a yellow flag with 5 stripes running through the middle, 3 blue stripes alternating with 2 white ones. This flag was only flown a very short time. In early 1948, a meeting held in Hong Kong and presided over by Emperor Bao Dai gathered many representatives from various political affiliations, churches, and well-known personalities coming from Vietnam. The emperor chose the flag designed by the painter Le Van Day as the national flag of Vietnam. This flag has a yellow background with 3 lengthwise red stripes, separated by 2 equally thick yellow stripes. It is said that the yellow represents the yellow race, while the 3 red stripes symbolize the unity of the Vietnamese people, the unification of all 3 regions of Vietnam, North, Central, South, after being kept apart during 80 years of French occupation. On June 2, 1948, this last flag was officially displayed by the Nguyen Van Xuân interim government as the national flag of the State of Vietnam. In 1951, the State of Vietnam delegation, led by Premier Truong Văn Hu, participated in the Peace Conference of San Francisco. On this occasion, the Vietnamese national flag proudly flew next to those of many other nation members of the United Nations. The flag of the Communist International is a hammer and sickle on a red field. The flag of the Russian army, when it grabbed power in 1917, was a yellow-rimmed red star. Lenin combined the flag of the Communist Party with that of the Russian army to make the flag of the Soviet Union, which consisted of a hammer and sickle symbol topped by a yellow-rimmed star against a red background. The Communist International ruled that when they swear allegiance to the Comintern, all the communist parties in the world have to accept the Soviet Union as their number 1 fatherland. They also have to follow to the letter the orders of the Comintern. As a member of the Comintern, the Communist Party of Vietnam copied the Soviet flag when they chose a red background with a yellow star in the middle to be the national flag of Vietnam. The red field represents the Communist Party, and the yellow star the Communist Army, hinting that the survival of the Communist Party is dependent on the strength of the army. According to the yin-yang principle ruling the 5 elements, yellow is the color of earth, and red the color of fire. As fire begets earth, these 2 colors go well together. Yellow also represents a territory and authority, as it is the color reserved for kings. For that reason, the colors of the Vietnamese flag, red and yellow, blend well and interact with each other, in the sense that the flag is meant to represent a free and independent nation, a developed country. In contrast, the red in the communist flag is overwhelming, as if it represents a whole field of fire or a sunburnt territory with only a tiny yellow patch, which necessarily leads to a dictatorial regime with no competition, no development, where the people have no freedom and no vitality. In June 1945, the Truong Truong Kim government christened the country the Empire of Vietnam and chose the tune Dang Dang Cung, Stepping on the Esplanade, as the national anthem, and the Lee trigram as the national flag. The Dang Dang Cung was a court processional march used since the time of Emperor Ya Long in the early 19th century. The Truong Truong Kim government had commissioned a new lyric for the tune, but the work was interrupted when the government fell. When the Japanese overthrew the French on March 9, 1945, Vietnam became an independent nation, and the first government of an independent Vietnam was formed. The Truong Truong Kim government chose Vietnam, Jewel of the East, written by Hung Lang, as its national anthem. The song resounded with a patriotic spirit, pledging to defend the nation even at the cost of sacrifice in the battlefield. This anthem was used in conjunction with the Lee trigram flag. Vietnam. student at the Petruski High School in Saigon. In 1942, he was a student at Hanoi University. Among the 800 students enrolled in Hanoi University at the time, about 400 were Vietnamese. As the time was propitious, all the patriotic students participated in one party or another, struggling for national independence, but they had to work clandestinely in small cells. On the evening of March 15, 1945, the Indo-Chinese Student General Association organized a musical evening in the Grand Amphitheater of Hanoi University to collect money for helping poor patients being treated in the hospitals. On this occasion, the Student General Association had decided to pick a patriotic song to serve as their theme. Liu Hu Phuc, who was then attending the university, showed to Nguyen Dong Huang, the student entrusted with picking a fitting tune, some of his songs. In the end, his student march song was picked because this song was considered to be rousing and can be expected to inspire the students more than other songs. A 5-person committee was then formed and given the task of writing the lyrics to go with the song, in time for the performance day. Thereafter, this song became the official song of the Indo-Chinese Student Association. On the morning of March 15, 1942, 2 Saigon female students, barely 20, stood in the middle of the Hanoi University Amphitheater and raised their voices to sing the Student March song, or Call to Youth song. One of these 2 students is named Phang Thi Binh, who is now 90 years old. She eventually married Dr. Nguyen Dong Huang. The war between the Viet Minh and the French broke out soon after their wedding. The couple went into the Maquis to join the fight against the French. But after they discovered the true colors of the communist Viet Minh, they left the latter's ranks.
Hôm nay tôi đã 90 tuổi. Nhưng
I
mà
am
tôi vẫn
already
còn nhớ
90,
mãi.
but I will forever remember that wonderful day. That was the day when the song Call to Youth, which later became our national anthem, was sung for the first time in the auditorium of Hanoi University. I had the honor of singing it for the first time together with other students. Happily, I still have the program of that premiere presentation on March 15, 1942. 3 months later, we had a chance to present it again at a big concert at the Municipal Theater of Hanoi in the presence of high-ranking officials of the French administration at the time. The program was in the hands of the French Marine Band. When the Call to Youth March was played, the whole audience automatically sprang up, which gave us goosebumps. The participants on that day, I am sure, must remember it for the rest of their lives. When asked about the composer Liu Hu Phuc and that historic morning, Mrs. Phang Thi Binh said the following: I can assert that the students then were all nationalists. It's only later that the term Viet Minh, Revolutionary Alliance, misled some into following the communists. But all Vietnamese compatriots know that once you follow the communists, there is no way back. In 1948, in a meeting between Emperor Bao Dai and a number of dignitaries and representatives of political parties and religious leaders, Mr. Nguyen Dong Huang suggested that the Student March be used as the national anthem. The conference participants agreed after the word students in the original was changed to citizens, and the song's title subsequently was changed to the Citizens' March, or Call to the Nation. On June 2, 1948, the Nguyen Van Xuân interim government agreed to make this song the official national anthem of Vietnam. In 1956, the Constitutional Assembly adopted a resolution retaining the Citizens' March, or Call to the Nation, as the national anthem of Vietnam after a few changes to the lyrics that we are now familiar with. This is the song that South Vietnamese people have been using to this day. Once they managed to rob the power of the people, the Communist League for Vietnamese Independence, otherwise known as the Viet Minh, used the Forward Soldiers song composed by Van Cao as their anthem. This was the song used by the Viet Minh Army when it was formed. After they came into power over the northern half of the nation, they also used it as their national anthem and continue to do so today. There are actually two sets of lyrics to this song. However, when they sing it as their national anthem, they only sing the first set of lyrics. The March of Youth, which eventually became the Citizens' March, expressed the obligations of Vietnamese citizens, especially of patriotic youths and students in South Vietnam at the time, who were inspired to fight the French Expeditionary Corps with nothing more than sharpened sticks. The song merely encouraged the people to sacrifice themselves for the land with such lyrics as, "Let's wash our national grudge with our very red blood." In contrast, the Forward Soldiers song contains such lyrics as, "Our flag, drenched in the blood of our victories, carries the soul of the nation," and "The road to glory is built of enemy corpses." Such imagery clearly fosters the spirit of savage revenge, a characteristic of Vietnamese communism which favors violence and bloody solutions, so that the system can survive only on the blood and bones of their own soldiers and those of their opponents, a path totally contrary to the traditions of tolerance of the Vietnamese people. The Forward Soldiers song was the one played when the Viet Minh welcomed the return of the French to North Vietnam in accordance with the preliminary agreement of March 6, 1946. The same song was used when, acting in coordination with the French in the so-called Joint Control Commission, the Viet Minh attacked the strongholds of the Dai Viet, the Vietnam Nationalist Party, and the Vietnam Revolutionary Alliance. On July 20th, 1954, the Geneva ceasefire agreements were signed, dividing Vietnam into two nations. The North is the Democratic Republic of Vietnam, ruled by a totalitarian communist regime in obedience to the Communist International, which sought to turn the whole world red. Ho Chi Minh was the one entrusted with the task of conquering the South. Named the Republic of Vietnam, South Vietnam became a bastion of anti-communism in Southeast Asia. The government of the new republic had to assume the task of both nation-building and resistance against communism in order to safeguard the life of its people. As its rule firmed up and its armed forces strengthened, the population of South Vietnam knew a life of freedom and peace. And the yellow flag with 3 red stripes was flown everywhere, from the cities to the farthest, most isolated border posts. With abundant support from international communism and, sad to say, also from the anti-war movement in the West, the communists ignored the Paris Peace Agreement that they had signed in January 1973 and launched a massive attack below the 17th parallel, which ended in the defeat of the Republic. The South fell into the hands of the Communists on April 30th, 1975. The mass exodus of nearly 1 million North Vietnamese to South Vietnam in 1954 was repeated once more, this time to become one of the most tragic experiences of mankind. The largest exodus of people in the history of Vietnam, known as the Boat People Crisis. It took the whole world more than than a decade to resolve this crisis, taking in over 2 million refugees from Vietnam, not counting 500,000 lost at sea or in the jungle. During those dark days, it was impossible to think that the flag of the Republic of Vietnam would be flying anywhere in the world. Yet, starting in the 1980s, the Vietnamese diaspora gradually organized itself, and the Vietnamese flag started to appear at community parties, in gatherings involving the host countries and international assemblies. Soon, the flying of that flag became official with increasing recognitions by many jurisdictions and even states as the heritage flag of Vietnamese Americans. These recognitions became so numerous that a former ARVN colonel named Pham Ba Hoa has devoted his time for the last many years to record all these recognitions in terms of legal documents and visual evidence all around the world. About the campaign to restore the flag of the Republic of Vietnam, Colonel Hoa has this to say.
Cho đến ngày 16 tháng 6 năm 2012 này.
Until June 16, 2012, there have been 16 states, 8 jurisdictions, and 103 cities have recognized our flag. The most recent city to do so is Louisville, Kentucky. It officially recognizes our flag to be the traditional flag of the Vietnamese people and to be the symbol of Vietnamese freedom and democracy in America. In particular, among the states that have recognized our flag, there are 3 that have proclaimed a law about the Vietnamese national flag. They are Louisiana in July 2003, Ohio in 2010, and Virginia in 2008.
UN Office of Migration rejected the communist demand that they represent the Vietnamese American community, the Vietnamese community of the United States has been participating in the International Culture Day Commission in New York since 2000. On April 30th, 1975, after General Big Min surrendered, the whole army of the Republic of Vietnam laid down their arms. There was, however, one military establishment whose fighters refused to capitulate. This was the military cadet school in Vũng Tàu.
Ta là đoàn hiếu sinh quân Việt Nam, mai này đều bước theo gương đàn anh.
This oldest military academy in modern Vietnam had been the breeding ground of some of the most brilliant generals of the Army of the Republic of Vietnam. It was also a training academy for many so-called wards of the nation, the sons of fallen soldiers. Because it had become impossible at this late stage to move the students elsewhere, and because they had been abandoned by the cadre of officials in charge, the older cadets took over command. They ordered a break into the school armory while distributing guns and ammunition to the young students, preparing them for a final battle. More than a battalion of regular North Vietnamese army soldiers were surrounding the school. Concentrating their fire, the enemy thought they could find a breach to come in and take over the school. However, with full knowledge of the school layout and advantageous posts manned by tough fighters, the cadets prevented the Northerners from making any progress. The battle, fought by adolescents averaging 15 and 16 years of age, was carried out courageously as if fought by seasoned soldiers. An unrecorded engagement in the military history of the country, it nonetheless became a legend honoring the orphans of war who fought tenaciously under the flag of the fatherland. The next day, the communists had to persuade some authorities in town, accompanied by an officer cadre of the school, to open negotiations. The children finally agreed to turn over the school, but with the condition that they be allowed to perform a final ceremony to salute the flag. A group of cadets and 2 younger students stepped forward to the flagpole. All the others, without a word, stood up in their individual holes and trenches and joined in a passionate rendering of the national anthem. The flag was slowly pulled down in a sea of tears. That was the last salute to the flag ceremony in the Republic of Vietnam. The central part of Alberta, Canada. It has a population of only 2,600, but it is well known among Vietnamese expatriates because it has displayed the Vietnamese national flag since 1984, thanks to the initiative of a Vietnamese young man named Tran Nam. Sorely missing his homeland whenever he looked up and saw the 10 flags displayed at Greenwood Park, he had succeeded in convincing the City Council of Sundre to let him purchase an 11th pole to fly the Vietnamese flag.
Hiểu được nỗi niềm mất nước của tôi, Hội đồng thành phố thông cảm và bán cho tôi cục cờ đó với giá là 125 đồng. Ngày 11 tháng 10 năm 1984, tôi mua lá cờ Việt Nam treo tại đây cho tới tháng 7 năm 2007. Do những người nào đó nói rằng lá cờ này không thể nào đại diện cho một quốc gia và nằm ngang hàng với những hàng cờ quốc tế, lá cờ bị hạ xuống. Tôi được tin và lập tức điện thoại lên hội đồng thành phố xin cho cộng đồng Việt Nam và tôi lên điều trần. Được sự chấp thuận, cộng đồng Việt Nam và tôi lên điều trần trong 3 lần. Lần cuối cùng, hội đồng thành phố bỏ phiếu quyết định với tỷ số 5-1, lá cờ Việt Nam được treo trở lại cho tới ngày hôm nay.
Besides the Vietnamese community and Tran Nam's efforts to fly the Vietnamese flag, there is also the image of the mayor of Sundre, Roy Cummings, who had greatly contributed to that final outcome by responding outright to the objections raised by the Vietnamese Communist Embassy in Ottawa. This is his story.
Worldwide, I was getting emails, phone calls, radio interviews from all across the world to put that flag back up. And once I learned a bit more about the history and what the meaning of that flag was, it was the right thing to do. The only negative, the Ottawa, the representatives from Vietnam, the communist representative of Vietnam, sent me a letter. I cannot quote it because I don't have it in front of me, but in essence it said that it would greatly strain the relations between Canada and communist Vietnam if that flag were to fly. I felt that there's nobody that should be able to tell me in my community that I can or cannot fly that flag. So we put the flag back up, and to this day it's become a passion with me to not only spread the word, but also, as long as I live in the town of Sundre, I will fight to have that flag stay in its place for eternity.
Craig Van Hoy is a well-known mountaineering guide who led a 5-man expedition to conquer Mount Everest, the highest peak in the Himalayas. Before leaving the U.S. on that trip, he accepted a proposal by his friend, the architect Nguyen Loong Vinh, to take along a Vietnamese flag.
My family and I, we were fled Vietnam in 1975 from Saigon. At that time, I was 17 years old. I wonder why so many Vietnamese carried the Vietnamese flag to the United States. Later, I learned from my father, my brother, and the main source, of course, from the library. I found out so many South Vietnamese soldiers were stand up, fight for the freedoms, and die for that. When I worked in Portland, Oregon, I met Craig Van Hoy, who's later become my friend. At that time, I has learned he's a professional mountain climber. I asked him by bringing the Vietnamese yellow flag with the 3 stripes. He happily accepted.
Yeah, while I was on Mount Everest, there were several different companies that were filming. There was folks from the IMAX Everest film that were there doing a film for Paramount Pictures, and other people. Local news station from Portland was following me, and the local newspaper, and they were all a part of that event of climbing Mount Everest in 2004.
He said, "I took this flag to Mount Everest, not just for the Vietnamese refugee community, but also because I want to honor the 80 million Vietnamese inside Vietnam as well." The expedition planted the Vietnamese flag on top of Mount Everest on May 17, 2004, a message of freedom representing the aspirations of the Vietnamese people. On Friday morning, August 8, 2003, a four-man official delegation from the Vietnamese embassy in Washington, D.C. went to Boston and requested a meeting with the Boston City Council to protest the recent resolution passed on July 30th by the council acknowledging the yellow flag with 3 red stripes as the symbol of the Vietnamese American community of Boston. When she learned of their coming, Diane Nguyen, the mayor's office coordinator in charge of relations with the Vietnamese community, went to see Mayor Thomas Menino.
In July 30th, 2003, Boston Mayor Thomas Menino passed the resolution of the Republic of South Vietnam flag. He officially announced that this yellow with 3 red stripes flag is the Vietnamese community flag to raise in many public places. 3 years later, a group of people from Vietnamese embassy had requested to meet Mayor Menino to discuss about the flying Republic of South Vietnam flag in Boston. So one of the city councilor at large, she accepted to have a quick meeting with them in her office. She listened to what they had to say. She then answered them that the issues of the Republic of South Vietnam decided by resolution. Once it had determined, it could not be changed. She told them that the long Vietnamese community, the long establishment, the Vietnamese community has contributed a great deal to the city of Boston. She also told them that she's very familiar with the current situation in Vietnam where the human race is not being respected. They do not have a thing to say about this. So she opened the door and politely showed them the way out.
The 23rd International Youth Day was celebrated in Sydney, Australia, from July 15th to 20th, 2008. Among the Christian youths attending, there were about 100,000 Australians, plus 125,000 coming from all over the world, including some 15,000 Vietnamese Americans and 600 from Vietnam. On July 17, 2008, on the cruise ship in the Sydney Harbour, a Vietnamese young man named Pham Vu An Dũng had a chance to share with Pope his family's story in the Vietnamese community of Australia. On the occasion, he offered a shawl in the colors of the Vietnamese flag. Pope blessed him and put the shawl on. The Sydney Morning Herald of July 21, 2008 related the story in an article entitled "A Flag for Freedom," which in part says, "The war may have been over, but to many in the Vietnamese community in Sydney, it hasn't." The national flag of South Vietnam was the most visible symbol in the whole forest of national flags and religious banners in the ceremony led by the Pope, even though that is a flag without a country, a flag that is forbidden in its original land. That is the national flag of Free Vietnam. Abilene Christian University in Texas, March 2009. The red Vietnamese Communist flag was displayed in the campus of the university. A sophomore student in marketing, Nguyen Vu Quang An, at first quietly lobbied with the university authorities to take it down. After several meetings, she got a chance to meet with the president of the university. She told him right away, "I wish to see that flag taken down. It is because of that flag that I came to the U.S., for all their crimes are unacceptable." The president told her, "Since there is no longer a Republic of Vietnam, their flag no longer exists." But she retorted, "It's true that there is no longer a Republic of Vietnam, but the soul of that republic is still standing right here and everywhere the Vietnamese are resettled in the United States." After that, the communist flag was taken down and replaced by the yellow flag with 3 red stripes. Looking back at the history of the world, it seems that there is yet a country that no longer exists, but its flag still flies bravely all over the world, as in the case of the Vietnamese yellow flag with 3 red stripes. Today, the Vietnamese diaspora continues to lobby local and national governments to expand the space in which the Vietnamese national flag can fly. After 1975, realizing the evil that is communism, the southern Vietnamese did everything they could to find freedom anywhere in the world. Fortunately, the countries in the free world have opened their arms wide to receive them. The following people have expressed their determination to support the Vietnamese community in their search to have resolutions passed in various countries so that the yellow flag with 3 stripes is recognized as the heritage flag of the overseas Vietnamese and as a symbol of freedom, not just for Vietnamese, but for all freedom-loving people in the world.
Actually, they fled to freedom, and at the risk of their lives, and so it's a very, very costly item, and it's very meaningful to them, and you would for certainly want to have that information readily available to the next generation of Vietnamese and to the rest of the world. And we need to really cherish that. People have died for that, and we want to support that.
The reason that I'm here today is so I can learn more about the history of the Vietnamese flag. I want everybody, all the younger generation, to learn more about the background of why there's a Vietnamese flag, have a yellow background and a 3 red stripes. So I encourage all the young people to view this film, to learn more about Vietnam and about the flag.
Very honored to be here today and to learn about history of Vietnamese, of the Republic of Vietnamese. And from now on, I promise to myself that I will go out there and share my experience and my knowledge with you guys, and hopefully we can lend a hand to the Vietnamese people in Vietnam so they can have human rights and freedom.
Hopefully someday that flag will fly in Vietnam.
"70 years after Phan Thị Binh raised her voice for the first time to sing the Students' March, the song that later became the national anthem of Vietnam, the same song is once again heard, but played by a famous orchestra of a country not so long ago liberated from Soviet communist rule. The Ukrainian National Presidential Orchestra has agreed to interpret the national anthem of Vietnam as a symphonic work. The composer Lê Văn Khoa is well known for his numerous valuable contributions to the music of Vietnam. He received several awards inside Vietnam before 1975 and has received other honors outside Vietnam in the years that followed.
Quốc thiều và quốc ca nó mang tính chất dân tộc, nó mang cái hồn dân.
A national anthem, whether played instrumentally or sung, carries the national spirit. It is the very soul of that nation. That is why we carry it with us no matter where we go in the world. I have prepared the harmonization and instrumental partitions for different orchestras, but I have to admit that this time around it is the best performance of our national anthem. Not only because it is played by a famous orchestra, the Ukrainian Presidential Orchestra, which is composed of outstanding performers. It is also because they are people who have known communism and its oppression, and now that they have got rid of that yoke, they love the newfound liberty, and that is reflected in their execution.
Ở trong cái tiếng nhạc của họ trỗi ra.
chung tình bạc đầu trên quê hương nghèo trong khu rừng già, trước mái nhà cờ vàng bay phất phơ. Bên mái hiên ta ngồi chuyện trò, khoai nướng thơm hương tình ruộng đồng, con thơ ngoan hiền ê đánh vần, VN là Việt Nam kiêu hùng, VN là Việt Nam kiêu hùng. Em vẫn mơ một ngày nào anh với em chung tình bạc đầu trên quê hương nghèo trong khu rừng già, trước mái nhà cờ vàng bay phất phơ. Bên mái hiên ta ngồi chuyện trò, khoai nướng thơm hương tình ruộng đồng, con thơ ngoan hiền ê đánh vần, VN là Việt Nam kiêu hùng, VN là Việt Nam kiêu hùng, VN là Việt Nam.